Welcome to the new season of the show. We've got some amazing adventures lined up for you over the next 10 episodes. But we're kicking things off this year with a flashback to the last, as Anto checks his email to discover whether he, Brad and Morgs have been successful in drawing a block of the highly sought after Wapiti ballot.
They've just informed me the Wapiti blocks have been drawn. So check things out. Oh, Wapiti Foundation. Congratulations.
Yes! What have we got?
Well, we don't want to say yes too early, mate. It depends what block we got. Mount Longsight.
Mount Longsight.
Period 2. So I don't know a lot about it, but I'm pretty sure it's on the coast. So it'll be an awesome trip to probably take a big Stabicraft to.
She's a pretty long haul to get all the way from Queenstown to Milford when towing a 3.5 tonne fully laden Stavy. And the downside of doing the drive after dark means the team miss out on the stunning scenic beauty of the Milford Road. But the late night arrival does give the team a chance for a decent bit of shut-eye to ensure they're relatively fresh for day one of the ballot, which is important. As any experienced Fiordland hunter will tell you, the first day is always the toughest.
Well, pretty excited. We made the mission through to Milford last night and we've been able to get up sharp this morning to make the most of our day. We've got a good week ahead of us in our Wapiti block where we've got the opportunity to hunt, fish and dive. So we've got the 2500 Stabie, Liveaboard, so we can base ourselves from the boat a wee bit. We'll definitely head out into the mountains for 4 or 5 days and then get back on the boat and do some missions around that. So we've got on the boat, loaded up, getting pretty excited, and we've got a couple of others on the boat. We've got McGuinness and Ash. These guys are actually sharing the block with us. So yeah, Ash got in touch as you do with the other party members and other guys that are sharing the block. We're having a chat about access and I said we'd taken the boat in, so we offered them a ride.
We've got the gang from last year back together for this trip too, with Brad and Morgs once again joining Anto and cameraman Dave. But before any thought can be given to the hunting, first the team have the small task of steaming 30 nautical miles down the coast to their destination for the week, Bligh Sound.
Well, we're making our way out the entrance now. Seas look pretty good. I've been out here quite a bit out of Milford and there's always a bit of a swell because you're going from a few thousand metres into only 100 at the entrance. Once you get a bit further around, you get out a bit wider, it should become quite calm today. So it's looking good.
There she is, boys!
How we're sound, mate. How we're sound.
How we at?
Here's the Marity turn for Bligh Sound.
The fellas have enjoyed sedate seas by West Coast standards, but it seems Bligh Sound is intent on greeting them with conditions for a more traditional Fiordland arrival.
It'll be wet weather straight away.
It's all good as long as they're roaring.
Having made the run without incident, the next job is to deliver the team's 2 passengers ashore to their designated drop site in the north of the block.
Bro, got my boots.
Little barefoot hunter.
So we've made it well into Bligh Sound now and we've got the 2 boys to drop off. The conditions are a bit average, a bit of rain and that, so it's quite nice to be in the cab at the moment, but it'll be our turn in about half an hour, setting up and setting off.
Good luck, boys.
Fiordland first-timers McGuinness and Ash have a challenging week's worth of adventures ahead of them, and there's no doubt a touch of apprehension amongst the pair about exactly what they've gotten themselves into. But for the team aboard the Orca, they're simply pumped to be back in the search of New Zealand's hunting pot of gold, a mighty Fiordland Wapiti.
How's it looking, Anto?
Pretty good. That's where we're going to head up, just there. We've got a mooring line we're going to go check out, which is about a K along further.
A strong mooring line provides peace of mind in a volatile location such as Fiordland, as you certainly don't want to be kept awake on a windy night in the tops, worrying about whether your boat's pulled anchor.
Close, man. Can't quite hear them roaring yet, but they'll be going off soon, no doubt.
I'll see you in a minute.
The True Kit tender provides the fellas with the ability to get ashore with far less hassle than nosing the big boat into the rocky shallows. And after a bit of back and forth, the team finally have boots on the ground. 1 year and 5 days since they were forced out of the previous Wapiti block due to the looming national COVID lockdown.
Party time.
Well, wrapped to be on shore. We've got a bit of a bush bash to begin with, and then we might get a bit more clearing as we get up the valley further. Oh, we're hoping after we get through a bit of a pinch here,
further up in this valley, it'll open up a little bit and allow us to do a bit of bush stalking, do a few roars and see what's happening.
The enthusiasm of being back in Fiordland is soon overtaken by the reality of the situation. The guys have a long, steep slog ahead of them, with heavy packs and through the thick, dense bush. But it's simply part of the whole Fiordland hunting experience.
Well, I think we're probably just over halfway, boys. First campsite. Right in the heart of it.
Coming down. Coming down? Not quite ready for you yet, mate.
When it's not crazily steep, the terrain is complicated by undulating tree roots and deep pockets of swampy bog, making the going tough for all.
Right, bro?
May the sun be always in your face and the wind at your back. That's
Not a good saying, yeah.
That's what you'd say if you didn't like it.
Whilst the rainfall earlier in the day hasn't helped matters, by the time the lads are near their chosen campsite, they're all equally drenched by sweat as they are by the wet bush. But crucially, their spirits are far from dampened.
I think this is going to be us for tonight. We've got a couple of clearings up here, but we don't want to get too close to them, so we're about 300, 400, maybe 500 metres from them.
How long?
3 hours 42. Not fast going, but on the map it's only a couple of Ks, but we've actually gone almost 6, so a lot of zigzagging. About a third of the time of what we did last year for our first day, but we've got some good hunting just here. A lot of the animals in this block are going to be in the bush, and we've got a big sort of flat terrace and clearings, so this is us for the first night. Well, we've got camp pitched. We've got about an hour and a half of light left, so we're going to push away from the river and see if we can hear anything roaring. There's a few clearings to check out. We want to be really stealthy about it.
I love this stage of any big trip. After doing the hard yards to get in, I'm always eager to get out on my first real look at the block. Having usually spent weeks studying the area via topographic maps, it's always satisfying to see it from real-world perspective. However, in this case, the surrounding tops seem rather unwelcoming, lacking the open grass country that's suitable for glassing into. But whilst the tops aren't looking terribly inviting, it doesn't take long before the team's first animal encounter of the trip out on the flats.
Stay up there.
Exciting, just popped out on our first clearing.
So we just popped down to our first clearing, and in the middle of it looked like a young hybrid sort of looking animal. He was very inquisitive. If we wanted to shoot him, it would have been straightforward, but it's definitely not what we're after. And our wind's sort of up our ass as well, just trying to figure out what's going on, so pretty positive there are stags in the area. It's gone in the trees. So we're probably going to just push it in the back of the clearing and sit down and see what happens for the evening. Hear that?
Sounds like he's a little bit further up.
Another clearing further around.
So we've climbed up to a wee hill. That's a stag there. So we've climbed up to a wee hill here just so we can hear what's going on. At the moment we can hear 3 stags. There's a few clearings around, but it's getting late in the evening, so we're a bit hesitant to trying to stalk in.
So Anto's just shot off to roar from a bit further around the ridge to see if he can spark something up over there. I just pushed through the bush 50 yards and you can see a big clearing below us, so we're going to move.
There's nothing immediately obvious out on the big clearing, but from this new vantage point, the roars heard earlier are far clearer.
Pretty fired up on Morse.
Yeah, man, really worked out. Well worked out.
So we've had a real good look out over this clearing. A couple of stags roaring and cage-yelled stags come out on that last light. So we've got to actually get ready now in case it comes out. Pretty exciting stuff. There's a stag coming into this clearing.
Where is he? He's coming out into the middle. See him?
That's him. Where is he now? No, he's obscured. Oh yeah, I see him. It's 230 yards away. The wind off through that tree. Right there, it's a massive six. He's coming to us. He's running to us. Get ready, Wolves. He's trotting it. Shake off that deer. Okay, I've lost him in the thick stuff. He's coming towards us. Morgs, how far is he, bro? He's a bit too small, mate. He's a bit young, I think. Lovely wop colour, 128 yards. I'm going to shoot him. Beautiful, beautiful wop. Nice white. He's just there. Hey, come on, roll. Has he seen us? Has he seen us? He's seen us. We've been moving around quite a bit, but he's not too alarmed at all.
Whilst just being a 6-pointer means the bull is clearly not one for the wall, it still pays to take time to evaluate the body shape and pedicles, as there's a chance it may have been an older animal that's now past its prime. But there's plenty of good years left in this young animal.
Pretty cool. He's just out there roaring. What we're hoping for, though, is his big brother turns up. There's definitely another one roaring. This is one of the bigger clearings in the area, so it's somewhere we definitely don't want to set up. Oh, this is awesome. Oh, he's roaring really well. It's just great to hear. He's not a very big one, but it's just awesome. I love it.
The muted sound of a distant roar eventually grabs the bull's attention away from Anto and the lads, but by this stage of the evening, they've enjoyed his company for long enough.
So we're about to lose light, so that sort of is the end of our first day. It's pretty cool. There's definitely a few animals roaring in the area. Figure out what we're going to do tomorrow, but as long as the weather's alright, we'll be up first light and up in this general vicinity.
She's been a long day, and everyone's certainly deserving of a hot feed. But once back at camp, along with some of the tried and tested Hunters Club favourites, the lads have a couple of fancy new products to put through the Fiordland fitness test.
This looks fancy and new.
This is fancy and new.
What's it called?
Stash.
Stash.
It's the Stash. Effectively, it's kind of like a modern twist on something that's been around forever. I've been using it quite a bit lately. What is cool about it, my number one feature, is that the actual pot fits directly on top of the cooker. The other feature though is that it all fits inside itself. That fits on, that folds up, goes inside its wee bag.
Can you make me my dinner first?
Upside down she goes in, all in one. Very light, very small and compact.
With a solid dinner under the belt, the lads retire for the night, although a chilly morning soon brings with it a chance to put another new product to the test. Stony Creek's super lightweight accelerant puffer jackets.
I realised there was a fashion show this morning. Look at these fancy jackets. La-dee-da.
What about the shoes? You didn't talk about them.
You let us down on the footwear department.
What are they called? Withers, are they a new brand?
Poor man's Crocs. Straight out of Beijing.
$20.
Dry feet. You managed to keep them dry the whole of yesterday.
I did, mate. Not like these other boys.
Skidding over the swamp, the old swamp hopper.
Yeah.
The team are keen to make the most of the good weather ahead, so press back along the edge of the main river towards the clearings that held animals the night prior. Although it's soon clear that maintaining dry boots in this boggy muck is going to be a tough task. This kind of swampy country can really sap both energy and enthusiasm. However, both are soon restored, as not long after arriving at the edge of the clearing, the first roar of the day is heard.
So we just busted out for the morning up from camp to the first clearing. Heard a roar in the distance before saw it right then. We just heard.
Unfortunately, the rejuvenating effect of a roaring stag isn't enough to bring the team's waterlogged main camera back to life.
Not ideal. Big camera's just decided the moisture's too much and it's stopped working right as we've got a roaring stag. We're just going to wait for him to roar again, hopefully. And if he does and he's in the same position, we're going to make our way across the clearing so we don't get busted and then try and get right in him. Okay, got him working. So we've got a stag roaring just on the other side of this clearing. We're probably going to bust it and get a bit closer. But yeah, main camera issues, a bit of moisture and it's not liking life.
Fiordland can be testing enough on a hunter's gear, let alone the sensitive electronics of a high-end video camera, but it's just part of the challenge, and luckily it seems to be functioning for now.
So we're probably about maybe 100 yards from the stag. We're just closing some ground. I'm just going to get into an area where there's a bit of openness and then we're going to do a roar. Just heard that stag again. He's pushed up and around a bit. So today's not the day to try and just keep chasing in on him. The stag, I think it's got lines. And as we've made our way up the hill, it just keeps pushing up. So we may push back and come after it again later on.
So coming up to mid-morning, we've got 3 or 4 stags roaring around us. Pinpointing them's been a bit tricky, it's really steep country. One appears to be quite high up over there. There's 3 up the valley here. We're going to probably shift camp midday, get somewhere we can hear the animals down below us and figure it out from there.
We got a bit bored sitting around waiting for stuff to happen. Anto's been doing some roars to stir up a stag further up the ridge here, so we're going to crack into it and see what we can make of it.
Whilst you certainly can't fault Morgan's enthusiasm, he and Dave soon discover that they may have bitten off a little bit more than they can chew.
Anto, you copy?
Yep, I've got you. Over.
We're right below that big rock face. We're best to sidle around below that.
I'd say try and get on top of it, is my feeling.
Copy. Okay, we're going to go straight up and over that.
Despite a favourable wind, the stag they're attempting to stalk in on keeps moving up the face, maintaining a 100-metre distance. So Morgs is forced to climb high and climb hard.
I'll just sneak in, mate, just sneak in.
Sounds like it's just in there, eh? There he is, beside that big white tree to the right. He's coming in, Dave. He's going to try and cut round us. He's right beside that big white tree.
Unfortunately, the vocal stag's the same animal seen the night prior, and since he hasn't miraculously grown another 6 points overnight, he's left to walk for a second time.
Well, we took off to make something happen probably a good hour and a half ago, and sure enough we got right up it and come onto a bugling stag. Unfortunately it was the 6 that we spotted last night. Beautiful animal, a few more years to go. Now it's a treacherous hike back down to camp for lunch, meet up with the other boys.
Dave's camera going, over.
I think Dave's camera's going.
Should have got some good footage then, eh? I'll see you back at camp.
Sweet as. Hey, making the most of the altitude, we've started glassing out here across on the slips we hope to take a look at tomorrow, and managed to really pick up a couple of hinds. So where there's hinds there's going to be some stags hopefully.
Well, we just packed up camp. Our plan is to push up a bit further up the valley. We're just going to incrementally make our way up. So new camp tonight, new location. See how we go.
we've just pushed up from our first campsite. This is going to be us for this evening. We're kind of just chipping off parts of the valley. We're mainly going to be hunting the lower country. This has a real good opportunity. Morgan saw a couple of hinds out here earlier today. We can see a bit of a face that way, and we've got a big valley floor up here. So, in the sun for a change.
Well, we're coming up to about 5:30. We've got about an hour and a half of light left. Beautiful sunny day, bit of wind starting to come through. We're going to split up. Morgs is going to head up the top there. We're heading up the valley.
Well, boys,
Don't touch, mate. Talk to you on the rhino about an hour.
Drop it like it's hot, Morgs.
Rather than making a beeline for the clearing straight away, Anto and Brad stick to the bush, working their way along the hillside well above the flats below, to both minimise their scent from being carried up the valley and to allow the sound of their roars to travel further. However, after a solid hour or two, no replies are heard, and with a steady wind now at their backs, they decide to cut their way back down to the valley floor and hope for an encounter on last light on one of the two clearings that they've identified as having the most potential for success. And as luck would have it, just as they arrive on the edge of the first clearing, two stags are heard.
So we just popped out onto a wee clearing. There's two stags roaring at the moment. Got terrible winds, so we kind of have to be really careful.
Despite the terrible wind, it's a great opportunity to get a warm bit of grub in the belly. So whilst Anto glasses the surrounding tops, Brad tucks in.
It's a better sounding one.
Nothing like eating your dinner listening to roaring stags.
We've sat it out for about an hour just to let the wind do what it's meant to do in the evening, which is now blowing down the valley. We've got a stag just over here roaring, a couple up the top, and I saw two hinds way up in the tops, but no stags. So we've only got an hour left of light. So we're going to check out this guy. We're hoping it's not our mate from last night.
Anto and Brad make their way carefully towards the clearing they've been scoping out the night prior, making use of the river to disguise their noise. As they approach the point where the 6-pointer emerged from 24 hours earlier, a fired up stag can be clearly heard, and it sounds like he's not far off.
Across there. Oh, there's a stag coming, there's a stag coming. Just behind that cow. Big stag.
Disappointingly, once again, the animal clearly isn't a shooter, holding just 8 points. But at this close range, it's still an absolute thrill to see.
So we come out to the first stag that we could hear roaring. He's tucked up in the bush, and I picked up a few hinds on the edge, a couple of cows, and a wapiti has just come out of the bush. It's a beautiful long 8-pointer, and he's putting on a bit of a show, but we still haven't seen this one over here yet.
Anto and Brad are holding out the chance that this guy will hopefully entice a more dominant bull out onto the clearing, as one can be heard roaring aggressively in the tree line opposite. It may seem that this young fella is battling a bit to get his roar out, and seemingly has a bit of a frog in his throat. This is a common hybrid trait, meaning this animal has both red stag and wapiti genetics. He seems to know something's up, staring directly at the team hidden on the edge of the clearing, but doesn't seem too phased, and is perhaps reluctant to leave his hinds behind in order to investigate.
So we're just waiting it out at the moment. We've got a stag in view at 120 yards. And we've got the other one in the trees roaring, but we have a very good feeling, very strong feeling, that the one in the bush is the one that we've actually seen twice already. But we don't know for sure, so we're going to hang fire, hold our position, and see if it walks out. He's moved. A roar.
down. So I'm just doing some roars, just to see if he comes in really, and he's coming. He's coming in. The other one, he's still roaring, but it's real windy, so the stag's actually struggling to hear us. Might do a few cow calls as well. He might just entice him in a bit closer. Just trying to sound like an angry stag. It might just attract them over. Okay, he's coming out to view. He's coming round. He's trying to spot us. It's been a pretty exciting evening. We haven't ended up seeing the second stag, but we're pretty sure it's the one we've seen earlier today and last night. But it's kind of National Geographic sort of stuff when you got stags in real close, just roaring and right in the middle of the rut. It's pretty cool.
With the dying light, Brad decides to chance his arm and put his tuatara camouflage to the test to see exactly how close he can get to a cagey stag, the answer being around 50 metres. It's unique experiences like these that make Fiordland such a special place, and given that it's just day 2 of the trip, hopes are high for more memorable moments over the coming week.
Oh, it's cold.
So there, boy.
Make him a morning coffee.
Big mug for a big mug. Don't look me straight in the eye. You're no better than that. Don't make eye contact with the cameraman.
Beautiful morning. Bit of moonlight out. Stags were roaring last night. So we're in for a chance this morning. Oh, another pretty early start. We've just been waiting for the light to come up a wee bit so we can see in the bush rather than try and navigate in the dark. Similar plan to what we had last night. Morgs heading up above the waterfall into this catchment here, which has got a bit of broken open tops country. Brad and I are going to head further up the valley. This morning we should have the wind coming down consistently. Last night we had to wait till it turned, so we decided we'd hunt the close stag, but there's definitely another one further up the valley which we're going to go and check out. Hopefully he'll come in and we'll see him.
So we've been pushing along from camp for the last hour and a half. We've got a bit of wind in our favour at the moment, but we've got a stag roaring about 80 yards in front, so we're just going to sneak in.
However, the team are taken by surprise as the stag is suddenly spotted directly across the river.
Just there. Can you see him? Have a look at him. How big is he? Is he looking at us? Just through here. There he is. Moving right. Yeah, I've got him. He's not a shooter, I don't think.
Even at less than 20 yards, the thick foliage obscures the camera's view of the stag, and unlike the encounter the night prior, this guy wisely chooses to beat a hasty retreat.
He's in the creek. Can you see him in the creek? I just heard him splash. So, oh, he's just shot off up the creek about me thing. Can't see him anymore. So he snuck up on that guy and he heard our crashing. So he come right up to us, probably about 10 metres. But he was sort of like quite a weak looking 10, real young, but big body. So he's another one to pass up. Always exciting though.
It's not the team's final encounter of the morning though.
I just saw Heinz. That wasn't the one we're targeting. Yeah, you might have to come this way a bit. There he goes. Yeah, through that cabin. Yeah, that's his bum right there. That's his bum. He's probably trying to get our wind. I think it just cut our wind. Yeah, it's just boosted off. The small glimpse I got of him there, I got a good body shot. Could have shot him if we had to. But the antler didn't look huge, like it just kind of looked pretty average thickness and stuff. Just saw one side, just the half of it. We're hoping to get another better look at him.
It's been a pretty eventful morning for the boys, but with the afternoon approaching, there's an anticipation for precipitation.
So relocated up the valley about 45 minutes. We're in the position really where we've heard a few stags earlier this morning. And we checked the old inReach forecast, and it's definitely going to rain tomorrow, so we've chucked up a few flies for tonight in preparation in case we want to be able to get up in the morning and gear up before we head out. Just gives you a bit of peace of mind really. Given the weather's going to turn tomorrow morning, really hopeful for this evening. It's always a lot easier when you've got calm conditions and it's not raining. It makes things real hard in Fiordland.
After the noisy start to the day, the evening session proves muted by comparison.
Well, we've pushed all the way up the valley for the evening. Got ourselves a nice lookout spot here and been sitting here for half an hour. Haven't heard anything at all in the head of the valley. Heard a couple roar down here, but not for very long. So we haven't really had anything to target this evening. We've got about an hour left of light, so we're going to make our way back towards camp. Hopefully come onto something roaring in the bush so we can have a quick chance at it. So we'll see how we go.
So back at camp on our third night this evening. It started off pretty good with a few roars going on, but got quiet real quick. So overall, pretty tough day. Had that pretty cool encounter this morning up close, but apart from that, not much happening. Forecast for rain overnight, so if it's not raining too much in the morning, we'll check something out around here, and then we'll move camp again.
It was well up. Good times?
All part of Fiordland. Probably the favourite reason I come here is because it's really wet. But no, we've been pretty lucky with weather so far. But a bit of a weather morning, we knew it was coming. So we're sort of just waiting to see what we do. I'd say most of us will get organised and go out for a bit of a walk. My favourite time is after it's rained and clears. The stags can sometimes start moving around trying to mark the territory. Hopefully it's happening today. Oh, you stick to that side of the river. We'll go that side. I'm going to head out that way shortly. We'll rendezvous, maybe turn your radio on about 12 o'clock.
Righto.
Too easy. Good luck, man. Well, the sun's just starting to poke through some of these clouds, so it's time to get out and see if these stags have started back up. It's mid-morning, so usually they'd go quiet, but given the weather's better, they might be keen for a bit of sun just like us.
Whilst getting out and about and stretching your legs amongst the wet bush is certainly preferable to killing time stuck at camp, it seems that there's little to get excited about, with no roars heard, and nothing to indicate any recent animal movement in the area.
So the sun's out well and truly now, it's dead on lunchtime. No roaring happening, so I thought I'd cut to where, there's a few stags. This is where the big 8 came out onto the clearing the other night and had the great encounter. So we can make our way back to camp and probably get out of this area completely. It's definitely shut off, and I think we're seeing the best of what's here.
The return downstream to the team's previous camp also sees a return to the previous technical problems.
Well, the wet valley floor saw the end of our main camera, just too wet, too humid. So we've shifted down the valley, got off the valley floor up into a sunny spot where we're drying all our gear out.
Hopefully the camera dries out too.
Hopefully the camera will dry out so we can do some more filming with it later on. But tonight we're going to head off into a wee hanging valley up here and see what's going on.
Whilst far from ideal, the team were able to get by and document the remainder of the day with bee cameras.
So luckily enough the wind's changed for us, it's working in our favour now, so we're going to head up the waterfall here, get into the head catchment and hopefully chase this bull down that eluded me yesterday.
We're in position, waiting for a stag to stick its face out. Nearly the golden hour.
Unfortunately, the big effort made to ascend the waterfall doesn't pay off, as no animals are seen or heard in the surrounding tops country. So all in all, a pretty disappointing day for the team. But there's more to the Fiordland experience than just roaring stags.
So we're coming to the conclusion of our hunting up in this valley, which is our main target of this trip in Fiordland. It's sort of had some awesome encounters with some pretty cool looking animals, but we haven't come across the old one that we're looking for. It's always a bit of a bittersweet feeling as you exit out of this country. It becomes your home, and it's an amazing place to be. The environment's just tough, it's always rugged, it's wet and wild, and in this valley it certainly tested us, particularly in the swampy bogs and the big flats up in here. So through our stalking around and getting all those close encounters with the stags, it certainly put our scent throughout this valley. It's not a huge catchment, it's big enough that the scale seems big. Once you incrementally work your way around, you definitely wind the place out. And with what's happened, the stags have definitely shut up shop. This morning we heard one moan. We think it's one we've already heard before. But it's certainly not the end of our story here in Fiordland this trip. We've got the boat down in the Sound. Brad set off early to go and get the tender and pick us up a bit closer to where we're going to pop out.
Later, boys.
We've got some seafood to gather in the Sound itself, so we're now going to head back down into the Sound and set our sights on hopefully catching a puka, get a few crays and some paua, and have a bit of a seafood delicacy menu for the next 2 or 3 days.
Sleeping, mate?
Oh, quite a cruisy way out of Fiordland, one of the easier missions I've had out of there. All downhill, a few sort of Wapiti trails on the way up, bit of a defined track, so pretty good. And we've got a boat pick coming in, the Exodus.
Everyone who enters Fiordland has sky-high hopes of encountering a Wapiti bull of a lifetime. But the reality is that very few hunters are ever presented with the opportunity to pull the trigger on such an animal. So whilst it's disappointing to be leaving without a huge rack for the wall, the sight of the orca sitting proudly out in the Sound helps soften the blow.
Welcome aboard the fun bus! That made it to the boat. Who needs Wapiti? In you go, boys.
The first task for the boys is to drum up a few tasty crayfish for the team's dinner. Crayfish, or to use the correct terminology, New Zealand's spiny red rock lobster, are fairly plentiful in these waters, and grabbing big bucks by hand is one of the most satisfying parts of diving Fiordland. So whilst Morgs and Brad busy themselves with underwater duties, back on board the boat, and Antos decided to see what's about that'll take a jig.
Straight into quite a nice fish. Well, with the boys diving, I thought I'd just drop in a slow jig. First drop within about 5 seconds, beautiful cod, so we've got dinner. Blue cod.
Goodbye. How's it going, mate?
Got a handful of crayfish, not too many paua down there, but we'll keep the suits on, go to another spot and hopefully get into some there.
I'm pumped.
You're into the Pringles.
The team relocate closer to the entrance of the Sound, where the increased water movement and swell provide better conditions for paua, or as it's known outside of New Zealand, abalone. These large edible sea snails can be found in shallow waters around most of New Zealand's coast and command a hefty price tag in restaurants around the world. Conditions are certainly not making diving easy for Brad, as the large swells and current buffet him about the place, but in short time, he's got enough tasty paua for a couple of dinners worth for the team. Meanwhile, back aboard the Orca, and Anto's playing the long game, catching some fresh bait that he hopes will hold him in good stead for the following day, when the time comes to try for a highly sought-after groper.
So I was just on the retrieve then and picked up a nice big barracuda, and I'm excited about that. That's perfect bait for a groper.
A few tasty pauas here. We're going to grind these up tonight and have some pawa dumplings. Can't wait.
It's a beautiful evening in the Sound, so the team make their way back up into the more sheltered waters of their mooring site and begin prepping the evening's three-course banquet.
On the job, mate.
On that job. Fin and feathers are great rub, eh? Always got to season your fish first.
Whee, it's a bit better than the back country. Too much cray for this plate.
And the inreach from the wife, so don't forget the power.
You gotta take the power back.
Despite some initial reservations, the big boat proves to have ample space to accommodate all four of the lads, although their night's sleep is helped in part by an early introduction of a rather nice bottle of rum.
Good night's sleep, boys.
Yep, fantastic.
Smooth operator.
Plan for today is look for some fish, pretty much loads of chili bins for a steam out tomorrow back home, feed the families.
Exceptional. Yes. Come on, mate. Ricky.
Where's your fish at? Where's your fish at? Where's your fish at?
After a relatively sedate start to the day, just as the first baits are dropped overboard, a classic Fiordland weather bomb hits, and it hits hard.
G'day, in the game. Pleased you're not walking out today? Yeah.
The torrential rain doesn't deter Brad and Dave though, and pretty soon some hefty blue cod are being hauled over the side.
It's a good fish, mate.
G'day.
Good cod.
Cheers. That's the cod box ticked. A couple of bloody healthy specimens.
Pretty happy with the decision to come out yesterday. Not only had the stag stop sort of roaring and we'd winded the valley up, but the weather forecast told us it was going to come in pretty bad, so we made the most of that spell and got out in the dry conditions. And to be honest, pretty glad to be on the Orca right now, catching a few fish, getting a bit of a feed and enjoying ourselves in Fiordland. Like, if we were out there trying to camp in this right now, it would be tucked in, hoping we weren't flooding out.
Last time round, the inReach cut our trip short by giving us a heads up around coronavirus. This time, thankfully, it's given us a heads up about the weather, so out we went. Bloody good to have that device on us.
Well, I'm just providing guidance from inside the cab at the moment. Brad's battling it, but he's into a good fish, so keeping a close eye on it. Oh, it's a nice big cod too. Into the boat. Oh no!
Oh, you got it?
Tension. What's he after?
Hold the rod. No thanks.
It's not happening.
Well done, brother.
Nice work.
Too bloody wet for this shit.
Even got wet in the doorway.
It'd be a crime to spend a week in Fiordland and not put a spear gun to use at least once, so cameraman Dave heads out in search for more tasty treats, hoping to get extremely lucky with a shallow water harp hooker which are thought to inhabit some areas of Bligh Sound. However, after a dozen or so dives, a nice sized blue cod presents an opportunity that's simply too good to pass up, so he drills it at close range, before returning to the boat to continue with the day's culinary clinic.
Done, mate. Oh, that sounds good. Don't get your fingers in there.
Just as well we're all mates here, eh? Use your finger.
Try and give me a bit more edge, Brad.
Holy
Check this
moly.
out.
You wait till they're fried up.
With a mountain of gourmet DIY dumplings down the gullet, the team have just got one more box to tick, bagging themselves a groper, or a pooker as they're also known.
Well, I'm hoping to upgrade from the barracuda I caught yesterday into some table fish from down deep. So hopefully a harp hooker is on the menu.
What are you running there, bro?
Just a wee Shimano Place 4,000 electric reel. It's not made for super deep stuff, but I use it commonly down to sort of 300 metres. In here in the Sounds, it's only 160, so yeah, easy work. There's a fish on. Had 180 metres line out, got a lot of wind drift going on.
do you got?
There we go. Oh, it's a pooker!
Yes! We're in the game, boys! Yes!
Hook on board!
Yes, well done, mate.
Well, we needed a pooker. And we got it. We transferred that barracuda into a pooker.
Fish on?
Let's go again. Let's go
We're
again.
in the spot X, so we're hopeful.
Why pull one when you can pull three?
You ripper!
So we're going to just finish this evening on a pretty high note. Morgan just pulled up a couple of pooker, so that's 3 for the evening. Winds are huge right now and the weather's terrible, so we're pretty chuffed to have some nice dinner and a feed to take home.
Double pooker!